Hello, travelers.
Do you have a list of places you want to travel longer than your arm? We don't always get to travel where we want as often as we want, but we can have fun with ethnic foods by making different international dinners at home. That's what we're going to talk about today. So, why food?
Well, one reason we like to explore cultures through food and at home is because you can include children in the process. When I was growing up, Mom would organize international food dinners, and they were really fun because they challenged us to learn how to eat foods we'd never had before, new ingredients, and we got to participate in the whole process. We learned how to cook while also learning about another country, which made it less like work and more like a fun project that we got to explore and learn from.
So, every culture has its own flavor profile, its spices, herbs, different types of produce, and the way that they put them together. And by learning about and exploring those, you can learn a lot about how a culture works and different areas of a country.
It's also a life enriching activity throughout a lifespan, so not just as a child, but as adults, we continue to do this as a family, as individuals, and exploring food, getting to know the food of another culture just expands your horizons, helps you understand other people groups because the food often reflects on how people act and how a culture works. So it's just an all-around life enriching experience.
We still cook together as a family. Usually the day after Thanksgiving, we get together, we pick a country, and everybody brings a different dish and we pull it together. What 2 countries would you like to explore through food? Put it in the comments below. We'd love to see your ideas and suggestions.
Okay, a tip to make this achievable and something that you can do in your household. You don't have to start with a full menu and a full dinner plan. Just start with one recipe. Choose something that intrigues you, something that maybe you've always wanted to try at a restaurant, but try making it at home. And just start with one thing. Start simple.
Another way to keep it simple is to pick a cuisine that's already familiar to you. If you are an American and you eat a typical American diet, English food or Australian food isn't that much different. If you have plenty of experience at Italian restaurants or Mexican restaurants, that's not going to be a big stretch. You don't have to start with something that's out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. Another great way to explore food is through library books. So we would get books from the library, whether that was recipe books or really any other book about culture, and use that as a reference point for exploring food at home.
And of course, you'll want to turn to the internet. One great resource is Sasha Martin's blog, Global Table Adventures. She did a project many years ago where she cooked through the entire world, and she has at least one recipe for every country in the world. That's a good place to start. And of course, once you open Pandora's box of the internet, you will find as many resources as you can handle.
So a challenge that we like to give to ourselves and we give to you is try one ingredient that is unfamiliar to you. And one example of this was dragon fruit. We did the Hawaiian dinner and we'd never tried dragon fruit. And so we got to go to the grocery store and find that for, where do you even get dragon fruit? That was a good start. And then learned how to cut it and how to prepare it. So go and find one ingredient that you've never tried before or never used before.
And speaking of grocery stores, where are you going to get all this food? Well, you'll be surprised. Most of the food we eat is the same the world over. So your local grocery store is going to be your first stop, and you will be able to find almost everything you need. The second thing, and something fun to try, is to see if there are any ethnic markets in your area that coincide with the country that you're cooking. Go there and you'll be surprised at what you find, and often the prices on imported foods are much better at ethnic markets, so that's a great place to look. And finally, if you strike out, you can always try the internet. Amazon International Market will have pretty much everything that you could possibly want, so that's a good place to look.
Another tip is to add decoration to your international night, even if you're just doing one recipe. Maybe adding some placemats or a centerpiece. I love this part when I was a kid, so getting the kids involved with that aspect. If you have kids or doing it yourself, creating placemats. My brother and I did the Australian flag as placemats for an Australian feast. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But that was just a really fun way to get into it, get a little bit deeper, not just the food, but try some art as well.
Another fun thing to do is to dress up to really make it festive, particularly if the culture that you're studying dresses differently than our typical Western dress. That's a fun thing to do, especially for kids. But if the adults want to dress up, we won't judge. We'd love to see pictures.
Yep, please share pictures. Another is adding music to your evening, exploring music. And now that's super easy because there's Spotify, there's YouTube, there's just a myriad of streaming places that you can find music from other cultures. So just searching the country that you're using and searching music, whether that's artists in that country or traditional music from that country. There's just so much variety in the music department.
Now, if you want to take this up a notch and do a full-out fiesta, you can actually throw a party and invite a family over, some friends over to share in the bounty. You can invite them over to help you cook, or you can invite them over just to experience what you've come up with. And that kind of puts a date on it and makes sure that you're going to get it accomplished.
Yeah. One thing that I remember doing when we were kids was we had a group of friends that we got together and we did a huge, was it Greek or Roman?
We did Roman because we were studying Julius Caesar.
Yeah. So we were doing some Shakespeare and we had a big Roman feast. And we all dressed up in togas and spent the whole day. The youngest was probably 8.
Yeah, he was
and
8.
Then I think I was the oldest and I was like 15. So, just a range of ages, and it was really fun to be with our friends and cook a meal, and the adults were involved, the kids were involved. It was just a great memory.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite memories is the Australian feast that we prepared. Australian food is not that much different from American food, but we happened to get a gigantic coffee table book at the library, and it took each area of Australia and it broke it down by the climate and the culture and the foods then that were indigenous to that area. My grandmother happened to be visiting that week, and we ended up picking 12 recipes to cook. It was a massive undertaking. We started in the morning, we finished at dinner time. We had so many leftovers. That is a benefit of International Night. Yeah. The kids had a great time doing something with their great grandmother, and it was a memory that she did not forget. She talked about it for years and years afterwards. What are some of your favorite memories of things we did?
Oh man, one of our nights that we did Hawaiian nights twice. Once as a bigger family, like after
when you were grown,
thing, as a grown up. But when we were kids, we did a Hawaiian night, and we did like a Kahlua coffee or something like that. And I just remember being a kid and mom and dad were letting us have coffee, and for some reason it just was delicious, and that was really exciting and fun as a young middle school age. So that was a fun thing. And then
let me clarify for the viewers, it was Kona coffee.
Kahlua
is a liquor. We did not give our kids Kahlua, just to be clear.
Yeah. I apparently don't know the difference.
That's okay.
There were just so many times that I think out of all of the ones that we did, it wasn't just the memory of the country that we were exploring, though of course exploring, eating the food, that just made us appreciate other cultures. And now as we travel around the world, I'm much more apt to try food from that location and be brave to try food from that location because we were introduced to it at an early age and had the opportunity to extend our palates out from the normal, at home, normal Western cuisine, whatever we would normally eat. That and just the opportunity to work together as a family and create something that was special on an average night,
Right.
Like it made the normal Monday night into a fancy dinner party with the family, and that was really fun as well.
Do you remember the first time we ate stuffed grape leaves?
Yes.
They didn't like it.
No.
So don't consider it a failure if your kids don't like everything you cook. However, do you like stuffed grape leaves now?
Yes.
Yes. So watch out for our next video in the Exploring Cultures at Home. We're going to talk about using media to explore other countries and cultures, for instance, books, films, documentaries, and images.
This is the first in a 4-part series on exploring cultures from home. Check out the blog post on our website that covers all of this in more detail, that has all the links and resources that we talked about today. We'll share the link in the description below to that post.
If you like this video, give us a thumbs up because
it will help us make more and better videos.
Until next time,
happy travels.